Namo Phat. Good morning. Thank you for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The second mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression, I vow to cultivate loving kindness and learn ways to work for the well-being of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I will practice generosity by sharing my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in real need. I'm determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. I will respect the property of others, but I will prevent others from profiting from human suffering or the suffering of other species on earth. Our Dharma lesson today is trying to know by the wrong assumption, asking the wrong question, by Ajahn Thiradhammo from his book, Working with the Five Hindrances. Asking the wrong question is usually caused by having inappropriate assumptions. The Buddha pointed out that due to ignorance, we do not see the way things really are. Some common assumptions were formulated into 4 distortions, vipallasa, of either perception, thought, citta, or views. What is impermanent is permanent. What is unsatisfactory is pleasant. What is non-self is self, and what is unattractive is attractive. Thus, as unenlightened beings, our basic assumptions are based on permanence, happiness, self, and attraction, whereas the truth of reality is exactly the opposite. If we hold on to these wrong assumptions, we invariably become confused and perhaps doubt our own perceptions. The most common example of this is with regard to the usual assumption that we are, or have, a permanent self or soul. Thus, once when the Buddha was explaining the series of factors of conditional causality, one monk would frequently interrupt with the question, who is it? For example, who is it that feels? Who is it that craves? The Buddha responded that these were not valid questions, as he was not referring to a subject, but rather explaining the causal factors arising sequentially. Thus, contact causes feeling, feeling causes craving, etc. Obviously, the questioning monk kept assuming that there was a subject, person, self, who was doing the action, whereas the Buddha understood that there were only impersonal factors interacting. Another of the reasons why the Buddha refused to answer the indeterminate questions was that the questioner was asking from the wrong assumptions. Thus, for example, most people understand the world to be the external world. However, the Buddha defined the world internally. Quote, rather, it is in this fathom-long body, endowed with the perception and mind, that I make known the world, the arising of the world, the cessation of the world, and the way to the cessation of the world. Or, when they asked about whether the Buddha exists after death, they were understanding that the Buddha was some particular entity. However, the Buddha said that he was beyond the usual designation of humans, thus immeasurable. He illustrated this through the example of a fire going out through lack of fuel. When the fire was extinguished, to which direction did it go? He asked. That question does not apply, was the answer, since the fire was simply extinguished. Likewise, an awakened being has extinguished the fuel for future existence. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me today.